It's a Saturday and we are here to give you nothing but the best in terms of what has happened within the course of the weekend. That's in terms of sports. I'm your host Amos aka Amore, and welcome to Off the Pitch, a show that comes your way every Saturday. That's at 9:30, and I'm not alone on set. I'm joined by Augustine, who is going to help me maybe give an overview in terms of what happened, the friendly that failed to go through, regardless of us wanting to watch it. Augustine, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Amos, and a big good morning to all our viewers out there. We return all the glory and honor to the Most High God, and it's good to be back on the show. It's a very, very eventful week. We have got Bola Yapazedi. It's back in action this weekend.
Augustine, before we maybe go for a short, quick break, let's look at, do you feel like the game that we were supposed to play, the game that we played 19 minutes, of course, and a lot of soccer fans and a lot of bloggers were saying, no, if we had played that game, we were going to beat Mali because we went with a different approach. But do you think something like that, because Mali knows their weather pattern, but don't you feel like they didn't do enough to prepare for that game that day?
I think they did everything, because I think it's during the rain season for the Malians, and you cannot control weather. That's the only bad part.
But you can control what to drain water.
You can have better facilities, and when it comes to facilities, it's always a struggle with African football. There are a few countries which have got top-notch facilities with good drainage system, but Mali, it's clear it's not one of them. And living here in Zambia, we always struggle when it's during the rain season. You remember one of the games that we played against Botswana at the Hero Stadium. Botswana went on to say that we are playing in a lake because our drainage system isn't that good as well. So I think probably we just need to improve in terms of infrastructure, because it's very, very frustrating for a team. You spend all the money to travel for logistics and everything, and then you just end up playing 19 minutes of the game, which is very, very bad for African football.
Like I said earlier, going into that game, a lot of hopes, or a lot of people had hopes that we were going to manage to beat Mali on the second game. But for now, we'll just take a very, very short break as we come back and take a look at who will be our next Chipolopolo coach, as the other coach, who is Asanovic, left the slot. For now, we'll take a very short break.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Like Augustine said earlier, Bola Yapazedi is back, and when we say Bola Yapazedi, it's not only Bola Yapazedi, but even the EPA is back from the international break that we had. But for now, let's just take a quick look, Augustine, at our Chipolopolo men's national soccer team, who as at now don't have a coach because Asanovic left.
Yeah, I think firstly the coming in of Ayosi Asanovic, I think was one of the people who really never backed that decision by the Football Association of Zambia. Ayosi Asanovic came in as a technical director with a memorandum of understanding which was signed between the Football Association of Zambia and the Croatian FA. They brought in Ayosi Asanovic to take the mantle as Chipolopolo Boys technical director. At first he was Quicksilver was the head coach of the national team. Then they went on to make a decision to appoint him to be the head coach of the Chipolopolo boys setup. It's something which really came as a shock because the guy was a technical director. He was part of Quicksilver's backroom staff, if you have to say. And him coming in during his time, he's had 2 decent qualifiers against the Cote d'Ivoire in Ivory Coast, where we got beat by 3-1, and against the Comoros at the Euro Stadium, where we won it by 2-1, which we really left it very, very late to win that game. He went on to take the team to the COSAFA Cup, which he emerged victorious. There were games where you felt we were very not in control, but we managed to get the result. In most games we were crawling, but we managed to get over the line. We went into the CHAN qualifiers, which we, as a country, Zambia, being African champions, we shouldn't be having problems playing CHAN qualifiers. And we went to Mozambique. We got a very, very decent result, a new draw, and then we brought it to the Hero Stadium, where we had done in the 86th minute by young King Lao of Mozambique, and we were dumped out of the competition. Just after that game, Ayosi Asanovic had a press briefing. He faced the media, and you would see the demeanor from the man. I talked to one of my colleagues I was with during that press briefing that these are signs of a dying horse. These are the last kicks of a dying horse. And it has come to pass that this man hasn't lasted longer than you would have thought as Chipolopolo boys coach. He was never convincing enough. His tactics were very, very questionable. He wanted us to play a more defensive game and try to hit teams on a counter. Possession-wise, we were not very, very convincing under Ayosi Asanovic. There was clearly no organization in terms of his team selection, the tactical, what he brought to the table. I don't think he was the right man at first, and it has clearly come to pass. He wasn't just the right man for the job. Now he has left the seat. It's now open for grabs. I think to me it's going to be very, very difficult for the Football Association of Zambia, because this time around they have to make a decision that will benefit the country, a decision that will be long term. I think most times we have gone for the short term fix, which has always backfired, and now they have to get it right. They have failed a number of times to get this appointment right. This is high time that they take their time. They speak to stakeholders. They try and get everyone on board to try and make a very, very good decision which will help Zambian football get back to the highest levels.
Any positivities, Augustine, that you can pick from Ayosa's time?
It's very, very difficult. I think I'm struggling to find positives, but probably the chance that he has given to young Miguel Chaiwa. He's brought him under his wings. He's given him the opportunity to expose himself at the highest level, and now he has earned a contract at one of the big boys in Swiss football, in young boys. That's probably one of the positivity that you would get from Ayosi Asanovic. Other from that, I think to me it's very, very tough. I think, okay, fair enough, the man won us the COSAFA Cup, but it's almost a given for Zambia to win the COSAFA Cup or to do well in such competitions. Well, the qualifiers we have started, probably he did 50% of the job. We won here, lost in Ivory Coast. We've got 4 big games to come. And would have loved to see what he would have done if he remained in the hot seat. But I felt that Ayosi Asanovic, in terms of leadership, I think he wasn't very much one of those in terms of reading the game, pushing the boys forward. He always looked lost in terms of his tactical change substitutions that he made. He didn't take responsibility of taking off certain players when they are not performing. He didn't have the courage to do that. Probably that's one thing where we look at Ayosi Asanovic and think probably failed in that regard.
But do you think it's high time maybe Faz would consider maybe giving Sichone the permanent job?
It's a very, very tough call to look at who now takes up the mantle to be the head coach for the Chipolo Polo. It's not the biggest job in world football, no. I think currently it's not even a big job for anyone because we have failed to qualify for 3 editions of Africa Cup of Nations. What we need now as a country is direction. We need a coach who will come in, stamp his authority, someone who would be the biggest figure in that dressing room, because recent coaches, I felt there are players who feel like they are a little bit bigger than everyone in the dressing room. We need a coach who is going to be a disciplinarian, who is going to come in there, who is going to stamp his authority, who is going to pull players in one direction. If he's going to implement a certain style of play, can he stick to his style of play? Can he stick to his philosophy? We need such characters. I think a good example was Herrera. When he came to Zambia, he was very, very straightforward. He never tolerated indisciplined players. He wanted everyone to be going in the same direction. This is what we need with this current national team, because we lack character in that dressing room. We need someone who is going to be very, very tough. Moses Sichone, I don't know much about his coaching style. I think probably with time we'll get to understand and know him more, how he is as a coach. He was a very, very decent player. He understands the game very, very well. And it will be good enough for the association, if they see him to be long-term, to be someone who's going to be the head coach of the Chipolo Polo. It's important that they keep him in the setup in one way or another, so that he grows in the game. He learns probably from the next man that will take up from Mayose Asanovic. If we're going to say we're going to give Moses Sichone the will to try and take Zambia to the Africa Cup of Nations, it will be a little bit difficult for him, because he hasn't had a high-profile job as yet. This will be a very, very big step for him. I think we have to look everywhere to try and find the best solutions, to try and find the right guy that will take Zambia to the next level. Moses Sichone, probably in future he will be a very, very good coach, but for now, this could be throwing him into the deep end.
But let's look at it. Let's look at it in a different aspect, Augustine. A lot of people would say, let's go expatriate, and when you say expatriate, we mean these coaches from other countries. So now, for you, when we say we have to look at the long-term plan, and we've seen mostly, it's not like we're saying from without. We've seen how much money is being offered, or how much money is offered most of the times. But for now, as we stand as a nation, would you suggest we go for an expatriate coach?
I think for now, it doesn't matter whether expatriate, whether local coach. What we need is the right man in the job. A right man with a clear philosophy, with a clear identity, with a vision of where he sees this national team in the next 3, 4, 5 years. That's what we need to have. Someone who will be preaching the same things to the players, and the players should believe and buy in what the manager is talking to them. I think it's going to be very, very key if we make the right appointment. Looking at the time that we have from now up to March, when we have the first the qualifiers against the back-to-back games against Lesotho, there's little time, because this was the only window which we had to work together as a group, and then we go into those qualifiers very well polished and ready to go and get all 6 points against Lesotho. But now the coach will be coming in. We'll just have probably 4 or 5 days to work with the players before a crucial qualifier comes our way. And if we have to be realistic now, we cannot gamble to try and bring someone who doesn't know anything about Zambian football. It will be very, very difficult, because it will be a matter of try and error. They'll be trying different tactics, they'll be trying different personnel, and we might lose out on another opportunity to qualify to the Africa Cup of Nations, which is already frustrating for a country like Zambia to be missing out on 3 consecutive Africa Cup of Nations editions. This time around, we need to get it right. Let's get someone who understands our football, someone who has worked with these players at some point. We do have a couple of expatriates who have done that. The likes of Sven van der Broek is someone who probably, I feel, we didn't give much time. He was someone who was on the right trajectory, was we are moving in the right direction. We played a certain brand of football which suited our players. Yes, results were not coming our way, but performances were there. You could see players like Cletus Chamachota looked much better under Sven van der Broek than any other coach he has played under. And he brought a clear identity to the team. And we have got someone like Patrice Bumeo. He's out of the job, I believe. He's someone who worked closely with Hervé Renard. He won us the 2012 Africa Cup, and then he was head coach when Renard left for a couple of games. He was in charge when we played Brazil in that international friendly. Then local coaches, we do have experienced coaches like George Luandamina. He's been at the helm at some point. Results were mixed. Same applies to Beston Chambeshi, Quicksilver. We played good attacking football under Quicksilver, but defensively we were caught napping a number of times. Can he improve on that when he takes up this particular opportunity? That remains to be seen. Then we have got Wetson Nyirenda. He brought life to our national team. We were close to qualifying for the World Cup. When we went to Uyo in Nigeria, we lost by 1-0 to one controversial game that we lost in Nigeria. You would see he was talking about the triple SD, his philosophy, speed, skill, strength and discipline. And you saw it when he was in charge. You saw there was a lot of discipline from players. We would play at a very, very high tempo. We play good, exciting, attacking football under Wetson Nyirenda. A number of fans currently in the country are calling for Wadawada Msindisi to take over this particular job. If you are going to give it to Wadawada, if you are going to give it to George Luandamina, Beston Chambeshi, whoever, Moses Sichone, whoever they feel is going to be the right man, I think the next manager needs a lot of time. It's not going to happen overnight, because currently, the current crop of players that we have, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to try and get back to the levels where we think we are going to be a team that will be hard to beat, difficult to break down. It takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of time working together. It takes a lot of international friendlies to try and polish us up and get us to the level where we feel we can be as Zambia. If I may take you back during the time of Hervé Renard when he first came to Zambia, we had a group of players which was coming from the under 20. The Canada outing, remember when in 2007 they went all the way, they reached the quarterfinals, being eliminated by Nigeria. Then we had the under 23 side, which comprised of Stopia Sunzu, William Jovu, Fayo Tembo. They were also part of that under 20, but they went to the under 23. Then they played the All African Games in Congo Brazzaville, where we finished third, if I'm not mistaken. And then in 2010, you would have seen there were already some senior players in that team, like James Shamanga, Christopher Katongo, Joseph Musonda, Kennedy Mwene. Those were senior and established players. When these boys were joining that team, you would see now there was the right balance. You would have experience, you would have youth in the team. And we went to the Africa Cup in Angola 2010. We had gone 14 years without qualifying out of the group stages. Then we went against all odds in a very difficult group, which we had the likes of Gabon and Cameroon, and we finished second. We qualified to the quarterfinals, where we eventually met Nigeria. We lost on post-match penalties. It was a game which we controlled. We dictated possession. We were very, very good. We were the better side against Nigeria. Eventually, we went on to lose on penalties. And you would see the boys from that time in 2010, they sensed something. They could see that we can take on everyone. After that tournament, their confidence went up. Then we went for the 2012 Africa Cup of Nations. We faced a team like Senegal in the first game, where they had Moussa Sow, Dembaba, Papi Cisse. They had the wealth of experience and talent in their team. But Zambia, against all odds, we went and qualified the top of that group ahead of Libya, Senegal and the host Equatorial Guinea. Then we met Sudan in the quarterfinals, and then we went all the way to the finals and beat the Africa. So you can see that this team was not just built in one day. It was built in a number of years. They went to competitive tournaments together. They failed sometimes, and eventually they got successful. So this group of players would need to try and probably go through that phase. They have missed out on 2 Africa Cup of Nations editions. I think 3. They've failed to qualify for the World Cup. Now we need to try and have, this is the team we called the Golden Generation, if you remember, when they were playing the under 20 in 2017. But now we need someone who direct these boys. We have got talent. That's something which we do not lack as a nation. We have got talent. We have got a lot of good players. But what we need is clear leadership, a clear roadmap with where we are going with our football. These players, they come from big leagues and they understand big projects. So you need to try and sell the projects to these players to know where we are going as a country. If we are not going to do that, it will be very, very good, very, very difficult to get our football back to the levels where we were.
But let's look at the stint of coaches that we've had, Augustine. I think a lot, if I'm not mistaken, a lot, or maybe about 80% of the coaches that have managed Zambia haven't lasted for about 3 years. And if you look at it, we had Asanovic who just left, maybe, we'll just say it's months. And Van der Broek, it was 2018 to 2019, Chiangi, 2019 to 2020, Slejovic, 2020 to 2021, Chambeshi, 2021 to 2022, Asanovic, 2022. Do you think it's high time now we realize and say we need to give these people a long-term contract? Because like you've said, we can't transform something within months or days, especially when it comes to football.
I think, you've brought up a very, very good point. You've seen these coaches, they're just lasting these jobs. Is 18 months. Yeah. You realize, I think to me, it's very, very difficult for someone to try and transform a team in 18 months. Even at club level, it's very, very difficult. Now, this is national team level. We should work with these players probably the most you can work with these players is 10 days. If you are lucky, you've got 2 international games under your belt to work with them, probably 10 days, but the most is probably 7 days. So it's very, very difficult for you to try and get your philosophy through to these players and them understanding what you're asking from them. So it needs a little bit of time to try and work. Because if you look at Heverena, from the time he came, I think he took us to the CHAN in 2009, where we went and finished 3rd, we won the bronze, and then he went from 2008 was it when he came to Zambia up to 2012. So there was time where he worked with the players, but during this period he had left for Angola at some point. But he understood the players. You could see when if there was one appointment where I was very, very excited was Milutin Soledovich, because he had done well in previous jobs. You look at what he did that in Uganda, what he did at Orlando Pirates. You would think this is a guy that will take us to the next level. But when he came here, I think to me, his philosophy, his plans, it didn't suit well with the national team, with the association. I think that's the biggest problem which we got. If we can try and align our project, our plans, the association, the coach, it needs to be, they need to be working in tandem so that we can try and get the best result for Mother Zambia. Because what I've seen is that there are no clear targets that have been set when these coaches have been appointed. That's the biggest problem that we're having at the moment. We need to have realistic targets, and when these coaches come in, I think they need to try and know which players they're coming to manage, and then what are the expectations and what brand of football probably do we expect from these coaches. I think that's one of the most difficult things, because our style of play with the personnel which we have, some coaches, I think they mix it up a little. I think Milutin was one of the coaches who tried to play with a bit of a handbrake on. We do not play like that in Zambia. I think it's very, very difficult. We don't have that defensive mindset. Our football is all attack. We love to play on the front foot. That's what we are good at. We are good in possession. Out of possession, we are not very, very good. We are very, very weak, especially with this current national team. Out of possession, we are very, very weak. We are not organized when we are out of possession. We need a coach who is going to come in to organize us in terms of out of possession, because that's our Achilles at the moment.
You as well, seated there at home, you can contribute and tell us your view in terms of who should take up the mantle, maybe who should continue leading the Chipolopolo boys, because nowadays a lot of people would say, no, I prefer watching the Chipolopolo, but let's look at how we can take the winning days back to our national team. So who do you think should take up the job as a Chipolopolo head coach? You can call us and give us your own view. But just a quick one, Augustine, in terms of some of the comments that are on our Facebook page. We've got Mwemba Mpande, who is saying Patrick Piri, sorry. And we've got Mudenda Kemuno, who is saying Moses Sichone, Ian Bakara and Christopher Katongo combination can be better deal. And we've got Jonathan Gift Mangani, who is saying we have tried most of these coaches and we appreciate them, but let's now try Charles Musonda. Maybe let's look at Charles Musonda. That's a quick note, Augustine. The name that has not crossed many people's path.
I think Charles Musonda, from the time he left Zambia for Belgium, from the time he stopped playing for the national team, I don't think he has had a connection with the national team. I don't think he knows half of our players. I think that would be very, very difficult for him to come in and coach the national team. If we can have him probably in a different capacity, not as a head coach, to try and learn the trade, because he's been away for a very, very long time and he doesn't know much about our local game. Same applies to Moses Sichone. Moses Sichone, this is now the time that he's being integrated into this technical bench. He's now learning these new players. He's understanding how they are playing. He's understanding their strength and weaknesses. And with time, he probably will get it right. Charles Musonda, I think he would, if we are going to need his services, not as a head coach, probably in a different role, because he's been away for a very, very long time.
And away from that, Augustine, let's not forget that Bola Pazedi is back today, and we've got an early kickoff. That's Kansanshi Dynamos versus Green Eagles, and it's at Nchanga, and it's also live on Super Sport 229 and Variety 4 and Go TV Select Go 2. And at 15, we've got Nchanga Rangers versus Ngana. Augustine, the Ngana squad, that's Chambeshi Warriors, I think, last time predicted to say our first win of the season is going to be in our next game. Are we seeing Ghana folding before we look at the Kansanshi Dynamos game? Are we seeing a Ghana that is going to be beaten by Nchanga Rangers?
This is one of the biggest games of the weekend. Nchanga Rangers coming up against Ghana. These two sides have got a very, very huge fan base. Nchanga Rangers playing in Chingola. You expect a full house this afternoon at Nchanga Stadium. Nkana side, which has had the poor start to the season, if we have to be honest, they have been beaten 3 in a row now. They lost to Zanaco, they lost to GBFC, and lost to Chambishi at home. Now they are coming up against Nchanga Rangers side, who are brought back to reality when they visited the Nakambala Stadium in Mazabuka, where they got beat by 2-0, their first defeat of the season. But it's Nchanga side, which is very, very exciting to watch. They play a very good attacking football. They are very, very expansive. They are fearless. They love to commit a lot men forward. And coming up against the Nkana side, which has flattered to deceive, really. If you look at Nkana, their caliber as a football club, and the way they have started this season, they have struggled, and they need a result this afternoon going to Nchanga Stadium, because the pressure will start mounting on the technical bench. In Ghana, did they have a very good transfer market? I don't think so, because yes, they may have strengthened in their midfield areas. They brought in.
Let's just try to pick this call, maybe. Hello.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Fine. Your name and where you are calling us from?
It is Andrew. I'm calling you from Chongwe.
Oh, okay. You can go ahead, Mr. Andrew, with your comment.
Yes. The problem that we have is not the coaches, but it's the technical bench. The technical bench is the first association. It's where the problem is. Because if you look at the statement, let's see the first issue. Number one of the issues back to the issue of the regional score. Where the issue is taken from Dr. Abanda, there are a lot of people denying the song that means that they don't do whatsoever. And then I cannot bring to the issue of Ayota taking coaches whatsoever. But if you can look seriously, it's try to advantage of what you taken as far. I think it's the better. So for me, any coach can coach me for coach. Even children or children or Adamina, but we like seriousness at first. That's what my contribution or my contribution.
Thank you very much, Mr. Andrew.
Thank you very much.
He's got a point there, Augustine.
Yeah, he's got very, very good points, and I think the Football Association of Zambia, like I had said, they need to get their act right, especially when it comes to appointing the next coach. You can see that we have got fans like Andrew. They are really, really following the game, and they understand whatever Football Association of Zambia throws out there to the public. People do not easily forget. I think he's brought up points of Baba Banda. There was an issue. Was the name submitted? Was the name not submitted? Then there was this issue with Ayosi Asanovic. He picked a 23-man squad. Then next we hear that the guy has not reported for work. And then the next thing is that he has resigned. So you can see that from that end there is lack of leadership, if I must say, in the association. We lack the bite, if I have to put it that way.
So coming back to the games that are being played today, Augustine, we've got the early kickoff. That's Kansanshi Dynamos, like I said earlier, versus Green Eagles. This is a game that we always say an open. Is it at how do you call it? Keten laser, something like that. So going into the game, you've said it when you looked at Nchanga Rangers game. It's Nchanga Rangers team that has been topping the table, and they had their first loss of the season. But let's look at Nkana, who has been trembling. But are we seeing problems coming through for Chambishi?
I think the biggest problem is with the players that Nkana have acquired. They didn't sign players in areas where they had problems. They have signed away from Kawaya's. He never really did much at Kawaya's, but he's been signed by Nkana. They needed a striker to complement Alex Ngonga, to work with Alex Ngonga, because they are over-reliant on one guy to get them the goals. They brought in Hari Kayula. He's a very, very influential attacking midfielder. He's very, very creative.
Well, let's pick this call first, Augustine. Hello?
I'm trying to tell my.
Oh, okay. You can go ahead with your contribution, Mr. Francis.
Yes, the problem is not the coach or the players, but the association. This association are trying to transfer it from one to outcome. It has changed because like shit. The players to try. They need to work with the coach, and they need to buy into the local philosophy. It is not magical. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Francis. Changing coaches like it's a shit, huh?
Yeah, you can see a lot of people when it comes to issues of Polo, there are a lot of emotions. You can see how Zambians love their national team, and what they want to see is to see Zambia do very well. I think the association will need to engage with stakeholders a lot more and get decisions right, so that the man from Mazabuka will be happy and see Zambia back at the Africa Cup.
Let's take a look at another interesting game, Augustine, that we have today, and this game is Napsa Stars versus FC Muza. Napsa Stars, I don't know, after beating Red Arrows in the APSA, coming and then drawing the first game with Red Arrows, I think they've had they've had a bad run so far, and maybe some rumors had it on social media that maybe Perry's job can be
on the line.
So coming to this game, we have an FC Muza that was playing in the Eden Division League, the then Eden League, and Napsa Stars both were there. How of a cracker is this game going to be?
Yeah, the last time these two teams met in the Eden League in Mazabuka, Napsa Stars lost the game by 1-0. It's a reason why Perry Mutapa won't be sitting on the bench today, because he received the ban from the association with the comments he made after the game was lost to FC Muza. He has been on a 3-game suspension. This is his last game. He won't be on the touchline. He will be back for next weekend's game for Napsa Stars. And if you look at Napsa Stars, the way they have started this season, they have had mixed starts to the league. They started very, very brightly with an away point at the home of champions against Raiders. It's a game where Napsa Stars could have won because they played some good football, and everyone started noticing Napsa Stars and thought probably this would be one of the dark horses of the season. Napsa Stars, the way they've played football, and now it's 6 games into the league. They've come back to reality. This is one of the most unforgiving league. The Super League is very, very much unforgiving. And to be fair to Payne Mutapa, in as much as there may be people out there who might be questioning him being the Napsa Stars coach and is he the right man, I think to me 100%, 110% Payne Mutapa, he's the right man for Napsa Stars. If you remember, Napsa Stars were playing continental football just a couple of seasons ago. Then they got relegated to the Eden League, where Payne Mutapa was appointed as head coach to try and get them back into the Super League. How many signings did Payne Mutapa make when he first went to Napsa Stars? A handful. He made very, very few signings. He got them promoted with basically the same team that got Napsa Stars relegated. He won promotion at the first time of asking, finishing third in a very, very difficult league behind Muza and Lumana Radiants. And now we are back in the Super League. He's managed to win an APSA Cup during that period against all odds, if we have to be honest, because it was a Super League side to the champions and an Eden team.
Just making history.
Yeah, the first team from the Eden League to win the APSA Cup. So that showed that this guy can try and turn the tables at Napsa Stars. Coming into this window, they brought in a couple of signings. They didn't probably strengthen in areas where Napsa Stars were found wanting last season, because last season Napsa Stars' top scorer was Musonda Kapembwa. He scored 7 goals. That's an average of 1 goal after every 4 games, 1 goal, I think, which is not very, very good return when it comes to the Super League. It might be good enough in the Eden League, but it's not good enough in the Super League. And now you can see that Napsa Stars, their biggest problem is getting goals. They are playing good football if you watch Napsa Stars, but scoring goals has been their most difficult thing. Defensively, they are not that bad. They've conceded about 4 goals this season, which is very, very good for a side which just recently got promoted. They are very, very defensive, solid, but it's when it comes to killing off games, that's when where they are being picked, Napsa Stars. And Payne Mutapa, he needs time. He needs, I think, 2 windows in the Super League, 2 or 3 windows in the Super League. Try and do the side that will be very, very competitive. That will be a force to reckon with. He has got a lot of exciting young talent in that Napsa Stars team. The likes of Jimmy Zobrigo Mkea. He's looked like he's back to the old Jimmy Mkea we knew. The young lively player who is willing to take on defenders. He's willing to pick up the ball in very, very tight spaces and make things happen for Napsa Stars. They've got young Felix Banda, a very, very promising young attacking midfielder. He's very, very neat and decent on the ball. He's one for the future. He's one to look out for. And they've got the likes of Austin Banda. What Napsa Stars is doing is that they are playing good football. The results are not coming their way, but it's just a matter of time that results will come Napsa Stars their way. And if you look at the team that they're coming up against this afternoon, FC Muza, another newly promoted player, they've got one of the hottest properties in Zambian football currently in Andrew P. Top scorer for Muza last season in the Eden League. In the Super League, he's already banked 4 goals. I think he's one to look out for. He's a very, very good young striker, Andrew Pili, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him being in and around the Chipolopolo boys setup, and it's going to be a very, very good encounter.
Let's just speak this call, Augustine. Hello?
Mr. Skombe.
Oh, fine, Mr. Skombe. How are you?
Thank you.
Good morning, how are you? You can't show up for the show because Ghana has been losing.
You're comment corruption on today's talking point. Who do you feel like should take over, or maybe face your analysis over the whole issue?
Well, it's a very, very complicated situation with that a couple of words which is coming. There is a state, but back where we want to a lot of factors that we are probably just explained by the administration. And I think if you look at the guys of the foreign-based treaty, I think to be honest, and that is people. We have a lot of stuff which is young, of course, when we say we have prepared to go local, we don't have to go back to the old kind of stuff, go inside like this. Now, the couple of young ambitious projects around, that's a great combination. Young person, but that was again, should be able of what she does. No intention.
Your prediction, we are looking at the NAPSA Stars versus FC Musa game, which is something that we feel like is a hot game for today, and not forgetting the same Changa Rangers versus Zingana game. But let's look, what's your take on the NAPSA Stars versus FC Musa game?
Well, it's high time, I think, if you ask me, the most difficult start to the season has happened and not to start the season. When you watch the way they do this game, I think they've lost a couple of games by this camp, but the majority of the circumstances, I think they have had quite some fantastic progress regards to this team. And this afternoon, watching from the stand that August navigated to area, I see a very, very tough match. Musa is very, very ambitious. It's only small, and they came back with 1 point. That's very, very significant down. So, at the very next game, they should start that meeting after that. Must be unusual on the home side. The home side is also trying to attack and choose the new, and Musa is proving to be very good on the road. So, very, very good team on the road. Very, very good counterpart. I think I am, because of the psychological effects of the whole game, and what has happened to the fans, to the coach. I think I'm looking to that advantage to get the outcome, because the worst case scenario perhaps that will be a draw.
Before we let you go on corruption, just prove Augustine wrong to say you are not here, you are absent, they not because of Ngana. Let's talk a bit on the Changa Rangers versus Ngana game, corruption. I know you can just do a quick analysis on this game and your prediction, and then we can let you go.
You are in hiding because of the game in Chingola.
Well, this one is going to be a very, very tough day of Manchester. And at the age of chair, you don't know how the future looks like. So to be a very, very good performance, you need to type players to come just to do it. When you look at the Red Arrow, they are also quite, they are on the look of guys, they start to the league as well. Being eliminated to Champions League, and now we have one program to the league. It will be nice to see how they bounce back from that and ceremonial exit from the Champions League, where we never expected matches into happen, of course. But this doesn't now that the stadium, it's a match watch game, if you ask me. It's a very, very match watch game for that. For me, I'm seeing a scoring goal in that match game.
And Ghana Changa?
Well, that game or that thing, I don't like making wrong assumptions. If Ghana manages to get a draw in Bola, that is not a lot of celebration. I'm seeing the catastrophic result there, so that will be for them stuff and you have to Changa Rangers. when you look at how the perform that is tiring, when they make supporters keep the faith in the team. But when you look at the Mexico side of things, I think Chaka Rangers has been very, very consistent at it. It's technical. You look at how those matches have used that particular team. So it will be very, very interesting how you can respond to the last loss.
Thank you very much, Uncle Rapson, for coming through.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Okay, bye-bye. So, Augustine may be looking at time. Just a quick one. Rapson has spoken already of there is another big game for me, which is the Zanaco versus Red Arrows game, which is being played at Sunset Stadium. And we've got Chambishi versus Forest Rangers, and it's at Chambishi Stadium. And tomorrow, Sunday, the 2nd of October, we've got Bidikon versus Nkwazi that will be played at Tel Aviv Manawasa Stadium, and Zesco United versus Power Dynamos, which will be played at the Levi Manawasa Stadium. But coming to the first Division 1 fixtures, Augustine, for today, we've got Lusaka Dynamos versus Aquila Stars, and it's at the Toyota Arena, which is here in Lusaka. And at 15 hours, we've got Kafue Celtic versus Livingstone Pirates, and it's at the Toyota Arena, Lusaka. And then we've got Kongola Blades versus Mpulungo Harbour at Kongola Stadium, which is in Chidila Wombwe. And we've got Young Green Buffalo versus Kafue Eagles. Your take on these games, a quick one.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting in the National League as Livingstone Pirates play Kafue Celtic. They have been the surprise package of the season so far. Livingstone Pirates, they are now sitting top of the table, having beat Lusaka Dynamos in midweek. I think it's exciting times for Pirates, who got relegated last season and then they got back in the National League because of Gomes. Now they have got an opportunity to try and stretch their lead at the top as they play Kafue Celtic team, which has been consistently inconsistent this season. They have struggled. They are building a new side, and it's going to be very, very difficult for them coming up against a Pirate side. Another exciting game will probably be a Lusaka derby between Aguila and Lusaka Dynamos. These teams have had different fortunes in their recent encounters. They all played that the other weekend when Aguila got beat 1-0 by Jumuro, and the Lusaka Dynamo side, which got their first victory of the season by beating Zesco Malaiti by 1-0. It's going to be a very, very interesting encounter. It's one that I will go and watch to see what Makundika Sakala and Manchi Janza will bring to the table.
Not forgetting our very, very, very own Cabinet Stars, Augustine. We are doing perfectly fine. That's in our Division 2, where we top the league with 18 points, and we've played 6 games, won 4, drawn 1, lost 1, and we have. So that's how our fixture looks like, Augustine. Cabinet Stars flying all the way up, and we've got teams in there, Augustine, not forgetting Mississippi Youth Academy and the Young Crocs. A lot of teams have been playing their stint in this league, but let's look at how dominant Cabinet Stars is.
Yeah, I think they have been doing very well. They just need to be very grounded. They need to be humble enough to work hard in every game that they play. They do not need to be carried away with a very good start to the league. This is a very, very difficult league. It will heat up in the second half. So I think these guys will need to be very, very grounded. They need to be very, very humble. They need to work hard. They need to be honest in their performances and try and just keep doing the right things so that they get results, and credit to Chipolo Polo for the league table.
Looking at our another team, that's Cabinet Stars, that's Division 4. Today they have a game at home and they are playing against Guardian Youth Academy. Cabinet Stars versus Guardian Youth Academy, and the game is at 15 hours. The venue is at Kablonga Boys Secondary School grounds. These boys have also been doing very well, Augustine, and when we look at both teams, they are putting the colors of us or Mother Zambia very, very soon on the map, because looking at how they are playing their game, and hopefully you track there and be able to support their boys. And Augustine, not forgetting a huge number of local debuts that are going to be there. Tomorrow we've got the Manchester Derby, and we've got another debut, Augustine, which is the Tottenham versus Arsenal Arsenal versus Tottenham for me. But going in these fixtures, we've got an Arsenal that has been on good form, apart from the loss that they had to Manchester United. But let's look at the first game, Augustine, which is the Arsenal versus Tottenham Hotspur game. Who are you giving it to?
It's going to be a very, very close encounter. Both North London rivals have started the season on a brighter note, and if you look at Arsenal, probably they've been the best side in the league this season. They're playing some good stuff. Arsenal, they've got a very, very solid defense. I think William Saliba has been very, very impressive for Arsenal. He was sent out on loan a couple of times to Marseille and Saint-Etienne. Now he's back. He's grown, he's matured, and he's maturing that defense for Arsenal. Now Arsenal look like a team that are not going to be conceding every time teams attack them, because Arsenal are always a side which conceded a lot of goals, but now they look very, very solid at defense. Granit Xhaka has brought in something different in central midfield, the physicality, the leadership that he has. I think it has helped Arsenal get to where they are. Then they've got the Gabriel Jesus, who is always a willing runner. He's always working the defenders. He is probably one of the most underrated players in the Premier League, Gabriel Jesus, but he's a very, very good footballer, technically gifted. He's very, very hardworking. His all-round play is unbelievable. They're coming up against an Antonio Conte side. Even when they play badly, they win. This is the most dangerous part about this Tottenham Hotspur side. Is sometimes they don't play good football, but they manage to get results. They are a team which is set up to play on the counter-attack. They are very, very defensive. They'll be very, very compact, and they'll try and hit Arsenal on the attack. One thing about this North London derby is that Tottenham Hotspurs have struggled to win at the Emirates Stadium. I think their last 10 visits there, they haven't won any single game. The last game they won, I think there was a goal from Jonas Kabul, probably in the dying minutes of the game. And another side of this local derby is that Harry Kane has scored the most goals in this game, in this North London derby. So it's going to be exciting. Can Harry Kane take his Tottenham side to the Emirates and get their first win after 10 games, or will Arsenal continue on being dominant on Spurs? That remains to be seen. But I'll give it 2-1 to Arsenal.
And then looking at other games that are being played, due to time, we've got FC Bournemouth versus Brentford, Crystal Palace versus Chelsea, Fulham versus Newcastle United, Liverpool versus Brighton, Southampton versus Everton, West Ham versus Wolverhampton. And in Spain, Augustine, we've got Cadiz CF versus Villarreal, Getafe versus Valladolid, Sevilla versus Atletico Madrid, and Mallorca versus Barcelona. And in Italy, we've got Napoli versus Torino, Inter Milan versus Roma, Empoli versus Milan, and PSG versus OGC Nice. So these are some of the games that you have to look forward to. And Augustine, due to time, your final remarks.
I think I'd like to say big thanks to the entire production team for making this possible. It's been a wonderful show, and a big thanks to everyone who tuned in to watch us. I think we always appreciate your support, your contribution. Those that called in, those that texted on Facebook, we always appreciate your comments, and we always look forward to interacting with you. We now troop to the stadium. Bola Pazed is back. I would urge everyone out there, troop to the nearest stadium and support local football, because local is lacquer. From here, I'm going direct to the Barcelona Academy, where there is a double header in Division 1. Lusaka Dynamos are playing Aguila. I'll watch half of that match. Then I'll troop to the big one at Sunset Stadium. Lusaka Derby, Red Arrows being hosted by Sensational Zanaco. It's going to be a cracker of a game at Sunset Stadium. Hope to see you there.
So anyway, for those who stayed glued, this is where we come to the end of the show. But on behalf of the whole entire production team, and Godfred upstairs, not forgetting Katamanda, who has been directing us from the studio, and Pastors Victoria and Moses Silva for giving us the platform to give you nothing but the best in terms of sports. I've been your host, Amos, aka Amore, and before I forget, happy birthday to you, Mom. If you are watching, happy birthday. May the good Lord continue blessing you with more and more and more in your life. For me, it's bye-bye. See you next week, same time, same place.